and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip after another great day. In your tank commander's eyes, anyways, the Winnipeg Jets find a way to blow another lead. They lose this one in 3-on-3 overtime versus the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, they gained a point, but when you're losing 7 of the last 10 games, don't worry, you can't keep pace. Today, the Winnipeg Jets lock themselves into at least the bottom 7, with San Jose gaining another point on them. Hard to see how they can catch San Jose with the game at hand. We're taking the positives out of this one. Morgan Barron gives us some moments to remember. The fourth line gets rewarded with more minutes than last game. We'll talk about them today. But I can't help but point out, as someone that wants to see this team strip it down and rebuild, the San Jose team, on their 2 goals, 3 points were awarded. 5 of those 6 points on those 2 goals came from guys that were drafted in the top 11 of the draft. 4 of them, top 7. 3 of them, top 4. You look at this game from the traditional narrative, and you'd think San Jose's coming in from a back-to-back. They went and beat Edmonton yesterday. This was their second game in 2 days here. And you'd think the more experienced team, the team that didn't play yesterday, would come in and dictate this one and find a way to win. They couldn't even do that on this night. We're in good shape, folks. Chicago won today. St. Louis is currently tied with Minnesota in the third. There's good things happening right now. There is good things happening. There's also no way this team could delude themselves into what they are at this point. This is done. And even Scott Arneal let down the old protective curtain a little bit today with an interesting comment that can be looked at as a bit of a slight to his GM. We're going to get into all of that. There's a player on waivers that we know this team wanted. We'll talk about that. I have some new optimism on the big scenario we're watching. We'll talk about that. Mikey, how are you doing today, buddy?
You know, truly this was a game with so much on the line for both teams, you know, really trying to make that push and, you know, a hard-fought overtime battle. You know, 4 out of 6 points, should have been a full 6 according to Scotty on this road trip. That's a real tough one, but the boys are still in it, not giving up, I don't think. But before we get into the game itself, we're going to do what we always do to kick off the show. So, you know, sit back, everybody, clear your lungs, and let's sing our song.
I see T. Will singing already.
Stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop.
It'll soon be here. And it will soon be here. Like you said, this hopefully kind of cements the Jets at minimum into that top 7 of the draft, which is still a little dicey. I would like to be a little higher up in that pecking order to land one of the big fish, but it's a good start. We got lots of room still to, you know, sink down those standings. So not the worst night overall for the tank.
With that in mind, let's get right to it. Let us know in the comments. Who is your tank commander on this afternoon? Mikey, where are you going?
I'm going to give it out to our third pairing. I think they really did a lot to help us out in the tank tonight. We'll get down to breaking the goal itself, you know, all down in a few seconds here, but both of them, just a masterclass on what not to do between absolutely getting burned on the coverage or just skating backwards into your own goalie, not committing in either direction, not doing anything, as I was screaming at my TV for Fleury to literally do anything. Anything would have been better than what he did, which was nothing. So, yeah, I'm handing it out to that third pairing. They're doing all they can to make sure that we end up with a high pick.
Yeah, I gotta say, once you just fully convert and actively cheer for the outcome you want, it's moments like that get a little exciting.
Yeah, right?
Jet Empire starts with Luke Shen. Matty Wynn says, I need to see a tank with a custom Luke Shen paint job at this point. Matt Rothman says, don't even have to ask the tank commander question, to be honest. It should be only one answer. Luke Shen. Blake G goes a different way, though, and says, showed up late. My tank commander has to be Helly again. And also adds on that Celebrini or Macklin is probably just as confused as we are right now. He's sitting in the locker room thinking, is this really the same goalie? And Michael Misa beats Connor Hellbuck on a game winner that I think we all want back.
Yep.
Especially Hellbuck himself. Rihanna's tank commander is a split between Luke Shen and the 17-91-24 line in OT. Hard to argue that one. And I think that 3-on-3 trio and other ones we've seen resorted to Scott Arneal's comment post-game. Going to lead to quite the discussion. Gacko Media says, Luke Shen, man, it's got to be Shen. Calling all Shenner. So, and I keep seeing more Luke Shens in the chat. Yeah, we see Billy have a couple good games. We get Hayden Fleury back with Luke Shen, and it's the disaster you would expect to be if you've watched.
Who could have
those
seen
two
it
hockey
coming?
Players. Yeah, who could have seen that coming? I'm going to go. I just can't. That play where this game gets tied, you're cooked on one pass. Luke Shen sitting in the middle of nowhere. I tell you, I know he's better than this, but he looks like a beer league hockey player on an NHL surface.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Luke Shen as the trusty tank commander. And you know what? I'm kind of warming up to the idea of him still being here past Friday because of that reason.
Right. You know what? I'm going to have to agree with T-Will in this one. Thank God we didn't have Ville Heinola in the lineup. Imagine how much worse we'd be with him in there instead of Luke Shen. God, the Jets might have lost today.
Here's the funny thing. Is looking at the decor they had today, they arguably didn't have a real traditional puck mover.
No.
And I think that played into a lot of the struggles in their own zone on this night, on a game where they should have been able to assert themselves against a team that played literally last night.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
A team with 19 and 20-year-olds on it who, you know, like these are a bunch of the kids getting to go out there and played last night and still absolutely took it to the Jets. Unreal.
Pomerlane's got a different tank commander. Morgan Barron, the best player tonight, not on the ice for 3-on-3 OT. Let's go to Morgan Barron.
Yep.
So last game, we talked very little about them, but I thought that was the Lowry line we talked a lot about. I thought the most other consistent line last game was that fourth line. Now they play 10 minutes. They do what they can with that. I thought they were probably the most consistent line today from the Winnipeg Jets. Morgan Barron gets that early goal with his feet moving in open ice. He's a pretty dangerous player. He can actually gain the zone for the Winnipeg Jets. We don't see that often right now.
Nope.
And he snipes to start this game. It felt like that line was getting the most consistent looks around the net for the Winnipeg Jets, and I think that should probably be a cause of concern coming into the game situation that we had.
Yep.
This is the type of game you'd expect your top guys to take over in. Didn't happen on this night. And then Morgan Barron, I thought was going to ruin our tank plans today when he gets loose on that last couple minutes penalty kill. Flying. Great save from Nedeljkovic. And then it comes all the way the other way. And Hellbuck ruins the tank for a moment with that big save.
Whew, huge.
But what did you see on the fourth line? What do you think of Morgan Barron's game? What are we thinking here?
Well, they were the third line tonight by minutes played.
Got rewarded.
Got rewarded because, again, they were the only line, that really looked semi-consistently okay for a big chunk of the game. You know what you're going to get from those three guys, right? Their game is very plain. We know how it works. And when it's going well, they can get the matchups that are positive. They can look all right. They can, look okay as a fourth line. The issue becomes, though, that can't be your best line on a night where, you're telling the audience that this is a crucial game and there's so much on the line. And, come on now. Let's be real here. It's a lost season. You can play these guys a few extra minutes because of it, but really you look at who they're competing against for a third or a fourth line. It's all interchangeable garbage at that point. Unfortunately, it's not a competing squad. So, Morgan Barron individually looked great today, not only offensively, but on the penalty kill was a fucking star throughout the game. Might be pumping up that trade value. There's got to be somebody who's going to come calling for, a cheap winger or a cheap center that they can kind of plop in there, and Barron might be the one. So who knows? Maybe there'll be some a light at the end of the tunnel with Barron's positive play.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a Jets fan and you're looking for positives, Morgan Barron stands out as that guy again, as he's done for a lot of stretches this year. Hey, he buries there. He's the anti-tank commander on this night.
Yep.
Which tells you something. But it also tells you why you're in this predicament when 2 games in a row, your fourth line is arguably a top 2 line and if not a best line today. Which is great for our cause, though. That's where I disagree with you. That's where we do want to see more of.
Yep.
These are the guys we want performing so that this thing keeps trudging along. These are the sacrifices that have to be made. Some thoughts on Barron from our chat, as I think you summed it up nicely. There's not much I could add to that. He did a bit of everything. And when he gets moving, man, he's an exciting player. I didn't think he had that shot in him, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
That was a rep. Some thoughts on Barron in the chat, though. Turd Ferguson, some GM has to be calling him a Barron by Friday, right?
Yeah.
He's in that list for me, buddy. Rihanna says, Barron gets the player of the game MVP crown for sure. The whole fourth line was cooking. It felt like they were the ones that were giving the Jets the best opportunity to score a goal today, which is crazy when you look at what's on that line compared to what's available in some other places.
All 3 of them hoping to get picked up at the deadline, most likely. They're like, come on, we got to look good. Maybe somebody will pull us out of here.
Yes. Rain talks about Barron recoups the assets lost on a Shen trade. A lot of people in our chat, as obviously we've had this conversation, believe he could be a nice trade piece. And it's games like this where he gets rewarded with third line ice time. He's clearly having the big moments within a game that can flip the switch of a game. I think a contender would be really excited about Morgan Barron. Don't expect them to trade him, but I think that's the type of situation you should be thinking about. Blake G adds in a late tank commander with has to be Arneal for finally putting Lowry and Perfetti together. Imagine if he did that with the Ehlers last year, and we talked about that so much, and says, we are so cooked. But let's talk about Arneal and being cooked, because it's safe to say he was tired of being guarded in the media today post-game. Mikey, what stood out to you? Let's get into it, because I thought that was pretty revealing from Scott Arneal today.
That might have been one of the most honest post-game press conferences that I've heard from Scott Arneal. Not only did he call the loss embarrassing, talked about how they can't be giving up those type of chances coming the other way with such a veteran-laden team. And the big piece was when he was asked, what the difference was between last year and overtime deployments and this year. They've lost 10 of 11 games in overtime. So what's the difference between last year and this year? And his response was personnel. Personnel has a lot to do with it. And that was it, period. Plain and simple, which to me absolutely sounds like he's calling out his GM for not providing him the proper players to be able to have options in overtime. So that's you don't see that a lot. That felt pretty pointed to me, and something that's hard to argue, right? How do you kind of argue that when you look at the options available to him? Now, he's not great at picking from the options he has. That's its own problem, but there really isn't a whole lot for him to get creative with when it comes to overtime. So, yeah, that was quite interesting of an answer from Arnie.
Yes, it's safe to say today was like the dagger for him to kind of go there. And I like to see it. For me, it's refreshing. I'm curious to see what the comments look like the next couple days, as I don't think that will be a popular one with how this organization operates. But we've talked about it all year. As much as there's the 1 goal loss thing, and you hope that rebounds in a year, a lot of it does come down to the fact they don't have the shooting talent across their lineup to win games. Like, you can't just expect that comes back because it doesn't exist within the roster. When we're talking about Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti, who I think are quality players in their own right, being your second 3-on-3 unit, Taves and Nyquist on 2 days ago in late February, as you're trying to sell this push are playing regular 3-on-3 OT minutes. You don't have the options. This has been something we've stressed all year, and it's exactly, he's not wrong when we talk about the 3-on-3 record. You go into any game at a downfall going into the extra minutes. If your first line doesn't score with 81 and 55 out there, it's game over.
It's over.
It's over. But what does those comments reflect on what this week looks like at all, do you think? That's a strong indictment.
It is. And now I'm wondering how that's going to be taken, right? Because that can go one of two ways with a management group. That could either be taken as, now we're mad at Arneal. This is we're going to have to talk about this. You can't be, skewering the management group in media, blah, blah, blah. Or do they take it as, oh no, we've got to go out and add something and give Arneal another weapon to have it out there? And there's a name that's popped up on the waiver wire today that I know we're going to talk about, and you're so excited that he's a potential Winnipeg Jet going forward.
Yeah, I want to go to Choice's comment first on the idea of what Arneal's doing here. It says, have to make sure and plead your case because someone is going to get blamed for this debacle. Is he getting ahead of the PR game a little bit there?
He can try. He could try, but I don't think that's going to go very far for him. Scott Arneal's limitations are very public, very on display for everybody. He can try to get ahead of any of the debacle, but
I don't think he's wrong though, man.
He's right about this instance. But I don't think that's what he's trying to do here. I don't think he's trying to position himself in the right way. I think he's legitimately upset about it, and that's what he felt in that moment.
Yeah, I just can't see them adding even with a comment. I think it's the type of comment that you have to hear from in management and take a long look in the mirror and really look at yourself in the answer and the roster here.
Yep.
If you start hearing that, because the same guy that this is pointed towards up in management just admitted publicly a month ago that they don't have the assets to go do that.
Yep.
So you're hearing from both sides here that there's a tension with what's going on with this roster. And there's only one real way to go. And I just think that should be crystal clear. And these countering ideas from a coach publicly and a GM publicly are going to rub into something as far as action this week. Curious to see where it goes.
Yep.
Blake G also says the funniest thing is that Arneal's comments will be more detrimental towards his job as opposed to the coaching performance.
Yeah.
And in this market, kind of true.
So true.
Let's go to the waiver wire, though. Who are you talking about?
Well, as Colin Hull says, hey, do you guys remember when we were talking about Mangiapane that if he didn't have trade protection, the Jets would have given up an asset for that guy a month ago? Guess who's on the waiver wire right now, everybody? Get those Mangiapane jerseys stitched up, True North. There, this has Jets written all fucking over it. They're putting in a waiver claim for that man.
I think so too.
With his full no trade clause attached and everything.
The nice thing, oh man, it moves down to a 5-team list next year. But it's funny because I saw Oilers media. We're like, yeah, no one's gonna touch Mangiapane. We'll get 1.15 million cap space tomorrow, and the Oilers are clearly setting themselves up for a deal because they waived Regula to the right-handed D-man.
Yep. So
clearly they're trying to move out money. They got something on the burner here. Those are the types of things we're looking for heading into the deadline. But it's funny because if there's one team I do believe that would consider claiming Mangiapane right now, it's Winnipeg. And it's for the reasons you just talked about. We know through December, they clearly had a deal in place with Edmonton that he didn't waive on.
Yep.
Clearly. The way that was talked about for 2.5 weeks there, Edmonton was clearly trying to push him to do it, kind of like what happened with Nate Schmidt.
Yep.
They don't find a market for him for a place he'd be willing to go. Plus, they would have had to pay to do it. And clearly, they didn't want to pay the price. So they just waived him. If there's a team that is historically taken on bad money to get a guy with some term, just to say they have an ad, it's this one. Mm-hmm. Especially with the fact they tried to sign him last year and then tried to trade for him 2 months ago. I'm imagining he gets claimed in this whole retool concept. 3.6 mil this year. 3.6 next year, 5-team list next year. In the world where this is perfect asset management, I don't mind claiming him and then going into next deadline with him as an asset to trade. We know they're not looking at it that way.
Nope.
Do you think that they're gonna claim him tomorrow?
I do. I truly do believe it. And they're going to pitch it as a win. They'll pitch it as, look, we negotiated hard for this guy, but we pulled out in the end because we weren't going to give up too many assets for him. And now look, we waited it out and we were the smart group and now we get him for free. It's a free ad. He's a real NHL player. He's got lots of experience. He has less points than Taves on the season, but that's neither here nor there. And they're gonna trot him out like a big win. I can see it a fucking mile away. And as Matty Wynn says, mangiapane, it means eat bread, and Winnipeg has an excellent rye bread scene. It's a match made in prairie heaven.
Al Camino says, and I gotta say, I've gotten a few DMs like this. I'm getting a little concerned for myself because Al Camino says this deadline says shades of the 23 deadline when they added Nino and Vlad. Looking forward to Nick's meltdown on Friday. A lot of people are cheering for the worst case scenario for my personal mental health.
Yep.
The more this week's gone on, and I gotta say, today woke up a new fear, kind of. Oh, Mangiapane waiver claim, followed by a Logan Stanley extension, would be the new 1-2 punch, like the Luke Shen, Brandon Tanev news of last year. There's some scenarios in my head that are a little concerning, but I have a new narrative around Stanley that I'm believing until I can't believe any longer.
Wish it into existence. Let's hear it.
So I'm going to give the Winnipeg Jets the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to pretend that they've never done me wrong and they're doing a smart thing right now. We are seeing the best showcase of a rental they've ever done in their life. You want to juice the value? Go play Logan Stanley 23 minutes plus 28 minutes on Friday against the Ducks.
Yep.
And show teams, hey, this is a third pairing guy, but he can log some minutes if there's injuries there. They are building his trade value, and I refuse to believe otherwise until I can't any longer. That is what we're running with.
Quarterback, power play one, right? Showcasing it for the other teams. Look, here's a guy that can hop in if you're a good team, but your power play's struggling. Here's your new QB.
This is exactly what we're talking about here. The Winnipeg Jets are doing the smart thing. We're giving them credit. We're seeing the biggest showcase of all time. Now, please pull the trigger.
And he'll be their own rental. Got it, yeah.
I like where Infinity Comic goes. Don't worry. The Jets will trade Stanley for a first and then flip it for Kent Johnson. This is what we're talking about, folks. Infinity Comet, you're hired. Kevy's fired. Infinity Comet's hired. Kent Johnson having a real tough year in Columbus. He is now in the previously known as the Cole Perfetti Rick Bonus doghouse.
Yep.
Kent Johnson's there. Got healthy scratched yesterday, I believe it was. And him and Columbus have had an interesting relationship for a while there. There's been some up and downs from the player and the team. Last year being the big up, 55.2C. This year being another down. If they're willing to get off that asset and the frustrations have built, and that's a change of scenery player, this is exactly what we're talking about. Infinity Comet is after my heart here. You flip the overexposed asset in Stanley, and then you parlay assets to go get a Kent Johnson type. And you're buying on a low, but you've seen highs in this league. You're Winnipeg. You need to go get guys that don't have trade protection, that are still in their RFA windows, that have upside. 24 years old, this is exactly the scenario that the Winnipeg Jets should be exhausting and looking for. And Infinite Comet is pumped about the job because he's got a job for life if he is the Winnipeg Jets GM.
Yeah, that's one of those times where you just take the names off the back of the jerseys, right? You've got the chance to turn what is locked in to be a third pairing defenseman into the potential of a 2C, right? By, again, moving one, using those assets, and then filling that hole. That's the type of thing that, again, a team like the Jets should be absolutely salivating over the chance to do, right? Take something that is of lesser value to you and turn it into something you desperately need now, which absolutely means that they won't do it.
And hey, we're getting into the fantasy booking of it all. We're playing GM here.
Yep.
This is what fans like to do. Rain goes somewhere, though I'm going to make a slight adjustment to it. Rain 204 goes 81-55 Stenberg, Kent, Wright, Velarde. Something to dream on when you pull something like this off. I would actually keep Kent at center and keep Perfetti if you were to get a Kent Johnson.
Agreed.
Hope we're making the right bet. But that's the kind of thing you can start fantasizing about, right? If you're able to parlay some of this stuff. This is the kind of conversation we're talking about.
Yep, 100%.
Beats balls are up. No, there's a new name.
Hell yeah. Welcome
I like
in.
that one. That fits the landing strip namesake. Says, is Stanley a UFA after this year? If so, trade him for a first and tell him we'll sign him in the summer since he wants to stay. So, like this approach, because you got to maximize the asset. You could tell him you're going to sign him later. He could tell you he's going to sign later. That stuff barely ever happens, so I don't even believe it would come to fruition. But if we got to sell it that way, I'm there. I'm in on that.
Yep, 100% agreed. We don't actually do it, but I'll sell it to him that way.
Rihanna says, I hope Chevy is reading these comments right now, knowing his job is gone. Infinity Comment's going to stir up the org here.
Even more so than Scott Arneal.
Let's go into the From Financial Faceoff. What was the difference in this game between the San Jose Sharks and the Winnipeg Jets? What made the difference in this one? Let's talk about it.
Right on, let's hit it.
Thanks for calling the landing strip. You're on the air. What would you like to talk about?
Right on.
Quickly before we go there, because I like these comments from Colin and Matt on the previous topic. Colin says, and this all goes back to the no trade clause location issues. Johnson has zero trade protection and every reason to get behind at least midterm. Coming here and being played in the top 6, given how we need scorers. And Matt Rothman says, too bad. The worst part is I don't believe for a second Chevy will do any of this. we gotta hold on to and believe in something here.
You gotta dream. You gotta have dreams.
And Zero Go State says, almost 50 folks in here tonight on YouTube. Genuine, those who are able. Subscribe, join one of our communities. Thanks for being here. Make sure to share the show with other Jets fans. It's been great to hear a lot of the feedback we're getting behind the scenes from new and consistent listeners. It's made this a lot more fun. Let's get into the From Financial Faceoff. Mikey, what is yours?
Mine, I'm going to start with this just little audio clip real fast.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
Fragile.
It's fragile, honey.
Fragile, honey. Here's the thing. The Jets are fragile. They are fragile, as A Christmas Story likes to tell us. Scott Arneal's talked about it earlier in the year. As soon as there's a little bit of adversity, a little bit of pushback, they just crumble. And it happened again tonight. We could point to any of the individual spots, the goal, whichever, but just overall, the big difference for me tonight, again, is just that they're fragile. They are fragile.
Quickly, as we do this live, Rain points out the St. Louis Blues just scored a late one on Mini. They're up 2-1 with just over 2 minutes to go. They're going to at least get a point there, I'd hope, if not 2. And they're going to creep up to 53 points. Could be a good day in the tank. Outside the regulation point, the teams we need are getting the extra points. Huron, Calgary tonight. For my From Financial Faceoff, I'm going to dive into the chat actually first. Rylan Medwicks is Speedy Youth versus Washed Vets. Al Camino's From Financial Faceoff is 2 words, even though he types out 3 and says Luke fucking Chen. Tico Napoli's From Financial Faceoff is blowing a lead and losing OT point. Back-to-back games, keeping the tank alive. Jay Miller's From Financial Faceoff is I hate hockey. Buckle in, folks. It might be another year like this. Colin Hall says, is there a team as melodramatic, soft, weak-willed as the Winnipeg Jets in professional sports, which plays into the whole fragile? Rihanna's is Shannon Fleury was the difference maker in the worst way possible. Hard to argue. Those two stood out like you don't want 2 NHL players to stand out. Norm's From Financial Faceoff is Logan Stanley for the rights to talk to Phil Esposito. Matt Rothman's From Financial Faceoff is the Jets stay horrible in 1-goal games and overtime. I'm going to keep the same trend I went with against the Ducks. Though it played out a little differently today. The old systematic team that's supposed to run over a young team sees themselves come up short 2-1 to the San Jose Sharks, where 5 points on 2 goals come from top 11 draft picks. You accumulate the talent at the top. The young talent is starting to pass the old talent. There's a bit of a changing of the guard coming in the NHL. San Jose is still an impact D-man away. They're not there yet, but even despite the fact they played a back-to-back today, their top guys outperform Winnipeg's, and here we are talking about our 7th loss in the last 10 games. Find the hope, find the young talent. There are better days ahead, and we're seeing that with the build-up in San Jose. And it's interesting, actually. I'll get into it in a second. We'll go there, and I'll come back to some of these from financial face-offs. You know how we talked about the retool versus rebuild idea? We talked about Thomas Jantz's thread highlighting how teams don't always rebuild despite being said it's a rebuilding year, like the 2019 to 2021 San Jose Sharks. I actually think we're in the first year of that San Jose cycle the more I look at it. And I'm curious what you think of that comparison.
Ooh, it feels real apt.
When they went in, they traded that top pick for Carlson.
Yep.
It ends up being a top 10 pick, if I remember right.
Yep.
I wonder if we're in that cycle right now.
It feels like it. It feels like such an apt comparison, and that's scary, man.
Something to think about. A couple more from financial face-offs, though, and then we'll keep going because there's some other interesting angles I'd like to talk about today coming out from around the league that'll play into all of this week. Colin Hall says, from financial face-off is, Nick, I think we might need to renew the missing posters on the back of milk cartons for that top line. Hasn't been great for a while here.
Yep.
But I'll take it right now. I'll take it. I'm one-track minded, and it's on anything that brings us better lottery odds and a bit of a future in Winnipeg. Matt Rothman's from Financial Faceoffs, supplementary from Financial Faceoff, not having Chaz Lucius in the middle sixes to help out with scoring.
Oh, my poor boy. I still can't believe Kevin Cheveldayoff had the audacity to say our middle 6 issues right now are because, we lost Chaz Lucius.
He retired.
He retired. What a jerk.
Infinity comments from Financial Faceoff. 55 and 81 getting afterburners when the puck goes to the ozone. Hey, you noticed that too, eh? You noticed the lack of effort defensively, and all of a sudden they have all the energy to go up the ice.
Crazy. On
those long 30 shifts. Hey. And another from Financial Faceoff from Colin Hall. This game feels like one would have been different if the Jets patented 7th for Niche Euro signing trade. I had one comment today on Twitter, actually. I got to get to this. I was tagged at intermission. I got to see what the chat thinks of this. The only player committed to your desired tank is Nyquist. Now, this was before the Luke Shen blow up. You should honor his sacrifice by getting his jersey. His backward passes to nowhere and terrible penalties are putting in overtime. I said publicly that there's some things a man just can't do. But if this chat thinks otherwise, maybe I'm going to have to get encouraged to do so.
Look, if he maintains his spot on the Winnipeg Jets past the deadline, which I still believe he absolutely will, because why the fuck would you trade for him, and makes it to the end of the season with no goals, I think then maybe that should be the prize at the end of it, as a Nyquist jersey on stream.
If this tank keeps rolling and we win a lottery pick, maybe I'll commit to it.
There you go.
Right now, that's a tough ask. Jay Miller says, cool helmet, Nick, you're going in. Hey, I leaned into the tank commander stuff on Twitter about a week before Helly's injury. It was like early November. It might have been that week that he got hurt. And I said, we're going to try and have some fun with it. It's miserable to watch this hockey team play. You got to go all in on it. So every loss, the tank commander is reporting for duty.
That's right.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Norm says Mikey and Nik rewarded with a 7-year no-trade contract by Chevy. Congrats. Do I want to be around doing this for 7 more years? under the Chevy plan.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'll need a straitjacket.
We'll be doing the show from inside the asylum.
It's gonna be our only communication outside. Eh?
Yep.
Zero Ghost 8 says, Nick, you need a military Nyquist jersey. And Blake G does say, if Jets win the draft lottery, Nick needs to get a Nyquist jersey as the official commander. Well, we'll see. Colin Hall says, speaking of folks, draft lottery show, we will be doing a live stream at least during the draft lottery. Hopefully it could be a lot of fun. Hopefully you're seeing a joyous Nick. I got put through the fire a little bit. Maddie wins. Notice that our backdrop looks like that heritage moment Canadian meme. And I got thrown up on there. And one of our regulars decided that he wanted to see that with the moment from the Luke Shen trade last year.
Yeah.
So I made that for him. And I had to relive those moments today.
Oh,
It was not fun to go back there.
No.
Everything said aged so well, too.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Tough. Interesting trade news I want to talk about when we're discussing the retool, rebuild, Winnipeg situation when it comes to the NHL. Last night, Elliot Friedman talked about the Robert Thomas stuff. And we've heard that out there for a while now. But even Friedman was saying he didn't really believe it. And last night he was saying he thinks there's a decent chance it happens before the deadline now. And the main team he thought to watch was the Utah Mammoth. Think about what that means within the Central Division.
God.
You hear the idea that Robert Thomas goes to Utah. What does your brain immediately think about?
We can't get him out of the division at minimum? Are we fucking kidding me now? Shout out to the St. Louis Blues, though, who never seem to mind making deals within the division. That's you know, traditionally in the old days, you never saw that very often, and the Blues are just like, nah, fuck it. Armstrong's just like, I don't really care. I'm just gonna get the best deal possible, which honestly I kind of respect. I kind of don't like limiting yourself to, you know, never getting to trade in your division, but for fuck's sakes, that's not what the Jets need right now. You're gonna keep them in the division. You know, you trade him to Winnipeg, but that's obviously not going to happen. It's tough. He would fit in real nicely with the Mammoth there and would, you know, solidify that they're going to be ahead of the Jets in this process kind of going forward. It's going to be real hard to start matching up with the level of talent that they're accumulating if they add, especially if they add, they're already, you know, moving in that direction, but if you add Thomas to it, it further cements the fact that the Jets aren't a quick retool away, aren't one player away from being right back into this. That really starts to cement the fact that they need to start finding a way to get that high-end talent flowing back into the org, because you've kind of cut it off right now, and everyone around you is loading up.
Yeah, some immediate reactions in the chat before I get to mine here. Rylan Medwick says, we are so cooked if they land Thomas. Like, for the next 5 years, the best to hope for is a wild card spot. Colin Hall says, if Rob Tom goes to Utah, the top three is locked. Infinity comment goes bomb and nuke. Al Camino says, start the tank if that happens. Cranberry says, why would the Blues trade in division? Let's talk about this. This is one of those ones that should change absolutely everything. Because you look at the Central Division, the top three teams in the NHL are clearly in the Central right now, with Colorado, Mini, and Dallas.
Yep.
I don't think either of those teams is taking a step back next year, personally. Mini, maybe, depending on how the Quinn Hughes stuff goes.
Yep.
But those three feel pretty locked in for at least next year, probably moving forward. Utah is the young team that Arizona was building, starting to emerge. And then St. Louis is the team starting to enter rebuild. We're getting screwed at both ends of that one.
Yep.
Utah's clearly going to become into that big four of the Central. Keller and Rob Thomas down your middle. Holy shit. Talk about a center group. Beats Mark Scheifele and Vlad Nemestikov or John Taves or Adam Lowry by quite the stretch. Like, think about that. Utah would be going to a spot where, let's say you have Robert Thomas and Mark Scheifele on a similar level. I'd have them in a similar tier of 1C. Robert Thomas is going to be their second one behind Cooley.
Yep.
we've talked about this idea of Mark Scheifele being a 2C on a cup of contender. Utah's all of a sudden going to put themselves in that spot.
Yeah.
And then at the other end, when I'm someone that's been hyping and full-throated into this rebuild idea, now St. Louis is taking that step and getting ahead of you, going down that path a little bit. That's the type of trade we don't want to be seeing this week, because you're screwed up both ends of the spectrum unless you do the big thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, this is the time, right? St. Louis is going to get ahead of you in terms of, their rebuild and acquiring, the capital to get the talent later. Utah's going to be getting ahead of you in terms of just the pure talent right now. And then you're stuck in the mushy middle. You're stuck in the spot you don't want to be in. It's
in a lot of trouble.
It's so frustrating to see. It's like a slow moving train wreck, right? You can see it from far. We're watching it going, that's not a good idea. And nobody's getting the fuck off the tracks. They're just sitting there going, yeah, maybe next year we'll run it back. It's like, no, the train's coming now. It's going to hit you now. You need to move the fuck out of the way. And unfortunately, the Jets do nothing but get in their own way. So it will sting real bad if that comes to fruition and he moves in the division like that, because it further cements the fact that you're stuck in the middle.
Pray that he goes out east, man, because that's a scenario.
Yep.
Ironically, Minnie's a really good fit for him too.
Yeah.
We don't want to see Robert Thomas end up on one of those 4 teams in the Central, or else like anybody that doesn't see why rebuilding is going to need to happen. I'm going to need you to wake up to the rest of the league outputs here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a scary one this week.
And just again, in terms of building a contender, right? Look at what their 2 centers would be at the top of their lineup, and then compare it to anything the Jets could possibly put together. Even with a quick retool, if you want to believe that that's still a thing, you're not going to win that battle. You're not going to win that battle down the middle when Mark Scheifele is going to be your number 1. It's not going to happen when the other teams in division are they're gearing up too heavily. So that has to be a bit of a wake-up call for some people to just kind of look around at the rest of the league, right? Take that half a step back, that 300-foot view, and just go, oh no, there's more here.
Yeah. Don Gagnon says, hold it, you're allowed to trade for a 2C? Kyle Connor would have got you one.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Connor would have got you one. We talked about it.
Should have traded Nick Ehlers.
Well, there's that side of it too.
Yep.
Yeah. Scary stuff. Mr. Meowcat with the dad joke of the comments today. Utah is making mammoth moves? ?
Very good.
And you want to know why Utah's going to be able to make a move like that too? I'm just going to keep hammering this stuff home, actually. Because they've been drafting high recently. A guy like Caleb Desnoyers is a number 4 overall center from last draft. Guess what? He's probably going to be in that trade. What can the Winnipeg Jets put up next to that to try and compete for Robert Thomas, even if the no-trade clause wasn't in effect? Let's not lean on the no-trade clause stuff, because that's not even the biggest problem here right now. If Caleb Desnoyers, just drafted 4th overall last year, is headlining a deal for Robert Thomas, how is Winnipeg competing in those conversations?
Yeah, it's how it's not, right? So, just as a heads up for anybody calling in, we will connect you when you call in. You'll get placed on hold real quick just while we finish up the thought, and then you'll be brought in. So give us a call back, whoever that was, and lines are open. And for everybody, just so you guys remember, lines are open right now, 1-204-800-0409. Here's our caller. Hey, caller, you're on the landing strip. What's your name and what would you like to talk about?
My name is Charles. The San Jose Sharks and Winnipeg Jets game, that was like one of the most electric games that I've seen as a Sharks fan. I mean, like, it went back and forth. I mean, like, the Winnipeg Jets are a good team, but I mean, and they lost 2-1. But I just gotta say, it was a good game. I mean, both teams are really good. I mean, both teams bring it. I mean, what were your thoughts on the game? I mean, I know you're a longtime Winnipeg Jets fan. What were your thoughts on your team? I mean, do you think your team is stacked? Do you think your team's going to do well in the season?
I don't think my team's stacked. I'm a little surprised by the electric part of that game. I didn't think that was one of the electric hockey games this year. But I think the Winnipeg Jets are entering a rebuild like the Sharks just went through a few years back.
And that's a good comparison. So thank you a lot, caller.
Any comment says, "Hey Chevy."
Yep, I knew it. I just, you know what? I thought I recognized that voice. That was definitely Kevin Cheveldayoff on his burner phone.
Choices. That was good. I appreciate it, whoever that was. Thank you.
We needed that.
Choices says over on Twitch. Utah also has a first, 3 seconds, and 2/3 in this year's draft, plus prospects and assets to get this done. Jets are getting behind, or getting ready to live this from Drance's post. Behind every failed rebuild is usually a period of failed win now desperation. The biggest risk isn't in doing common sense things to prioritize the future, even at the expense of your short-term outlook. It's in trying to prop up the middle team with win now moves and failing. And the biggest one I'm scared about, if you follow the Toronto or the San Jose path, the biggest one I'm scared of is you go get the lottery, you get a Stenberg or McKenna, and then you trade the 27 first to try and amplify this. That's the biggest one I'm worried about in the next 6 months.
Agreed. We've got a question from Pomerley, and I know you've had this a bit of this discussion offline, so I'm curious what you think to Pomerley's question. Is it a stretch to say the Jets might actually be on a worse path than the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Okay, so it's interesting. I actually think the Jets are better situated if they were to commit to a rebuild, if they committed to it, than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Having this year's first and next year's first is such an advantage in the short term. But I also think they have more talent to trade off from. Like Toronto has Matthews and Nylander, and after that, it gets a little tough for them to start getting the big hauls of assets. Winnipeg still has 4 that I think if they were willing to waive or they had a destination in mind, you would do quite well with. And the other side of it is Winnipeg is going to be in that lottery this year. If they win it this year, you have such a supercharged start to that teardown process because you have one of your highlight pieces. That being said, the longer the Jets don't, I think the pendulum swings to an advantage towards Toronto, because if both of them are in not ideal spots, the one big advantage Toronto has that Winnipeg doesn't, being the biggest market or the market that most is invested in, they have resources from management on down that Winnipeg won't be able to compete with. So I think if this happens sooner, Winnipeg's well ahead of Toronto's current spot, but we expect this to take a while. And I think the longer it takes, that pendulum moves to Toronto from just an aspect of they have resources that this market just will never have.
And to offer the rebuttal, I have here on the phone Jordan Voth. Jordan, thank you for calling into the show.
We'll get the Leafs perspective.
Hey, I heard you summoned me.
What's going on, Father?
Your audio is real rough on your end. Maybe set the virtual input there. Take a reset on that.
Okay. Would you like to offer on
no,
the Leafs?
You don't want to be the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. They have no picks for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's the big difference right now.
Yeah. And you're talking right now about giving Thomas to a divisional rival. We're talking about giving like a top 10 pick to the division rival in the Bruins. So, yeah, no, I would way rather be looking at the draft right now. Right now, I'm hoping they win like every second or third game to just like keep Boston's pick out of the top 10.
Yeah, you're in a rough spot this year.
Yeah, it's ugly. Anyways, I know I heard the Leafs and figured I'd call and check on the audio, and I'm glad I did. Have a good night, boys.
Thank you, you too.
We'll talk to you later, buddy. Mr. Meowcat asks, is Velarde a value trade asset? I think he is right now, but I wouldn't trade him at this moment. I think he's that kind of guy in the right age group that you'd want around for the younger group to play with. Like, you still need quality here. You can't go... I was having this conversation watching the game with my buddy today on this topic, and we were mapping it out. You don't want to go Chicago and Buffalo with it. This market would have a lot of trouble getting out of that. You still want quality pieces in your mid to late 20s to kind of guide them through. I think Velarde's a great locker room guy to want around for that kind of thing.
Yep.
And he signed for 6 years. At some point, he might not be a part of things, but I'd say he's a tradable asset on that contract. I just think he does actual whole value in Winnipeg. Now, the other side of this, if you're looking to retool and find that center, and you're not trading from the big four, he's probably the headline piece you'd need to move to go get that center right now.
Yeah, nobody's really untouchable when it comes to, like, who's going to be available, who's not available. But like you said, he offers value in terms of being here for the young guys coming up as well. But yeah, like if somebody's going to come in and kick the door down for Gabe Velarde and you can get a center out of it, then of course you're gonna make that move. You're gonna talk about it. But I don't think he's actively being shopped by the team as a way out of the current situation.
Like, that's the thing. I just don't know how you get the center without trading something big off of this roster.
Yeah, you have to. That's the thing that I keep trying to get out of people is that, yeah, they're going to retool it in the summer. They can go with what they have and just quickly retool. With what? What are they going to use to add that piece in the summer to make it all better? Chevy already told you somebody got rid of all of their assets. He wasn't sure who. They just disappeared, he said. But so you have to move quality to get quality back.
Yeah. Cranberry says, not to mention 13's interviews. So entertaining, 100%, man. I really like him. He's blunt. He's honest. He keeps it real.
Yep.
SGA Sports Talk, thanks for joining us. Looks like a Sharks fan. Might have been our caller. I'm not sure. Said, thoughts on Michael Misa. What do you think of Michael Misa, Mikey, who's a player? I'm excited about his future.
I wish I would have marked who said it earlier, but somebody asked, should Michael Misa have been on Team Canada? After the way that he put that one up there. That was, really impressive, really exciting. Again, it goes back to what we kind of talked about last game, seeing these kind of higher end, young players with offensive skill. You start kind of longing for it a little bit here. You start going, man, if we could get somebody at the top of the draft to get excited about at 19, 20 years old, that'd be pretty nice.
It's interesting how they use him too. Like, I'm very intrigued by San Jose with Misa. You don't see NHL teams keep those top guys to play them lesser minutes and focus on the development side, right? Normally you hear they got to go back and play big minutes. On a night like today, Michael Misa only plays 10 minutes at 5-on-5. In those minutes, the outshot attempt, the Winnipeg Jets 20-10. He's got a goal at even strength, or his line's got a goal at even strength. Then in 3-on-3, you're able to deploy him on the power play. You're able to deploy him in 3-on-3. They're using their depth minutes to still find advantages where a Michael Misa can excel offensively. So it's very interesting. That's a player that I think has a very bright future. I think there's a lot of talk about Will Smith and Celebrini. I think it's going to turn more into Celebrini and Michael Misa as time goes on. The other thing I'll say, I would absolutely love for San Jose to go get Josh Morrissey using Michael Misa and Michael Misa to be a Winnipeg Jet moving forward. So I think very highly of Michael Misa, personally.
Yeah, there seems to be some thought in the chat that a Morrissey trade, really fixes things here.
Hey, Rylan Medwick says that OT goal by him was gross. Infinity comment says Sharks played Misa in OT and we couldn't play Salo over at Fleury in OT. Those differences are stark in Winnipeg as well.
Yep.
What else are you thinking here today, Mikey? Anything crossing your mind on this Sunday as we approach deadline week?
Deadline week. We're gonna be doing a deadline show on the Friday. We'll probably kick off around 11. Details will come out probably either tonight or tomorrow. We'll put all that out for everybody. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this week to see what moves are made, what early moves are made, what kind of positioning comes out, what the rumors are. This is going to tell us so much, this deadline, about where the Winnipeg Jets not only are, but where they see themselves. And I think that's going to be, really descriptive on what the rest of the season and what next year could look like. This deadline feels even bigger than last year's when, we were begging and pleading for them to, have an ad so that they can maximize the year that they were having. This one feels much more this one feels more important almost, because it seems like this could determine not just the future of the season, but maybe the future of the next 5 years. Yeah.
Some more thoughts on this. Al Camino says on the Misa topic, it's almost like having a player development plan in an analytics department matters. Palmerlane says, who knew a team could play young players and put them in roles where they could succeed and contribute? That's blasphemy.
Crazy.
Cranberry, I do agree, says Morrissey not until next year if things go bad. I think the timeline would be next deadline.
Yeah,
I think that's ideal too, because it gives them a year to play with Salo as well.
Yep.
From a development standpoint. Norm says, I hope you guys are getting paid a boatload of money because it's hard to be positive about this team. Not yet. Maybe one day.
No, right now we do it for the love of the pain, I guess, that we go through watching it. But, if you do want to support us, we do have a membership program here on YouTube. You can join the Top Line team. You can be a grinder. You can be a playmaker. You can be a sniper and help support independent media if you like what we do.
Rihanna says, I'll bring the alcohol for Friday show. Hey, whatever you need to get through Friday show, we want you to be here with us. We want to have fun with it. The deadline show, for me personally, is the most fun show of the year, good or bad. Just nonstop yapping hockey, the entire NHL, not knowing what's going to get thrown your way to discuss. I love it. Be sure to tune in. 11 till like probably 3:30 or 4. We'll see what that looks like. We'll figure this out. Bring whatever drink you need. I'm sure I may have some enjoyable drinks as well to get through that. So come one, come all. We're really looking forward to Friday.
Absolutely.
Matthew Hyman asks, is Cinnamon working tonight? Unfortunately, this is not her shift. You just got my old face at the landing strip today.
But you can still put singles in his shirt. It's all right.
Mr. Meowcat says, is Helly hated in the peg after his big meeting? Curious to see how Tuesday goes. We'll probably talk about that on Tuesday.
That's going to be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets. I noticed that during the American anthem today, they showed Helly on the Jumbotron in San Jose, and he got a cheer out of the crowd.
Cheer.
So it'll be interesting to see how fans react.
Yes, we will be here, though. Rihanna says, everyone put your drink orders in. I'll bring the goods to get through Friday. Rain says they love the game. Unfortunately, we do sometimes.
Yep.
We do love the game. We will find a way to keep working through this together. Let's go to the 3 stars and a tank sim on this Sunday evening, and we will keep her moving through the rest of this trade deadline week.
Right on. Let's hit it.
3 stars, who you got?
Right on.
Mikey, who's going to be your 3 stars in the San Jose Sharks Winnipeg Jets game?
All right. So this one, this was an interesting game overall. I'm going to be going with at number 3. This was a tough one to give out today. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm not giving out a 3rd star today. Screw it. Not doing it. Number 2. He continues to have a good run of games. I really like seeing Elias Salamonson just getting to play NHL games, working out the kinks, showing some good things. There's still some things to kind of clean up, but overall, in a lost season where I'm not really looking for wins, I'm just happy to see the development going on. And number 1 star, there's no question, it was Morgan Barron. Offense, defense, penalty kill. He got my number 1 star tonight, pumping up that trade value. He's going to erase all the pain of the Luke Shen trade from last year and recoup all those assets. So Morgan Barron, number 1.
Rihanna's 3 stars are the whole 4th line. Good night to give that group love on this night. They weren't the most effective jet skaters. Reigns, 3 stars are 1 Barron, 2 Ned, 3 Misa. Alcamino, Shen, Fleury, and Shen. Right on. There's someone I know is looking at this the right way.
That's right.
Econopolis, Barron, Smith, and Vejmelka. I don't know where. Did he tune into a Utah game? I don't think Vejmelka was been doing the pipes in this one. Nedeljkovic, maybe?
Maybe.
Cranberries, Morgan Barron, Hallie, and I don't even know who else. Maddie wins 3 stars are Shen, Barron, and Misa. Zero Ghost 8's 3 stars are 1 should have played Philly, 2 Barron, 3 Misa. Rain says Chevy, number 1, Arneal, number 2.
Arnie, that's who gets my 3rd star. Sorry, that's my mistake. Scott Arneal easily gets my 3rd star with that post-game press conference.
Infinity Comments is going to 1 Fleury, 2 Shen, 3 Arneal saying we miss Fleury. Matthew Hymans, 1 T Conan, 2 Mikey, 3 Nick, and says, sorry, Nick, still good though. Hey, when I'm up against those two, I get it. I get it. Jets Empire wants to know if T Conan's an insider and Veg Melka is on his way to San Jose.
That's right.
Confirmed. On this night, 3 stars. Honorable mention, but I want to go a different way with it today. Honorable mention, Morgan Barron for Winnipeg. 3rd star, number 1 overall pick, Macklin Celebrini. How could you not enjoy watching that kid play hockey?
Right.
Number 2, former number 2 overall pick, Michael Misa. It's almost like finding quality talent atop the draft. It's pretty fun. And number 1, I'm going to go Guerrero, their GM, because I think when you look at what we're talking about here, and we said that there's a potential that we're in year 1 of that chase that San Jose kept going on. When Mike Greer eventually came in at the end of this and decided they were going to rebuild, I think San Jose was the worst situation contractually in the NHL. And how quickly he was able to get out of money and free up the books and cap space and money, which is the biggest asset in the NHL, while compiling and stripping it down and committing to stripping it down, and now compiling the elite talent to build up. I'm going to go him number 1 because he understood what needed to be done, and he did it. Jets Empire says 1 was Barron, 2 Hellebuck, 3 Shen's veteran presence, and Rain shouts out the community saying, God, I love this community. We love this community too. It makes this a lot easier and a lot more fun to be a part of, honestly. When Norm was asking about that, this community has sure made it helpful. But as you get the tank sim waiting, Jordan pitched me an interesting over-under yesterday in a group chat we're in about the Jets trades. Norm says no moves will be made. Matthew Hyman says, if they don't sell, I won't be happy. I've almost completely lost faith that there will be trades, though. I'm going to ask you, if I pitched you an over-under of 2.5 Winnipeg Jets players being traded by Friday, are you coming in under or over?
Under.
Okay, with it being
Under fast.
Oh, a fat guy.
Like easy, no question. Under. No, it's.
So there's only 1 or 2 or 0 names.
Correct.
Who are the names?
I think at best Luke Shen goes because he's whined enough about it, and we've heard about it in the media enough. So I think Luke Shen gets to go, and they can pitch it as a gift to him or a favor to him. You know, we sent Luke to a contender because, you know, we care about him and blah, 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 right? So it'll be that one. And I'm gonna say that they do get the Morgan Barron trade. They do find a partner for Barron.
I don't think they do it.
I think that's gonna be the one actual
Surprise.
trade where they're gonna, you know, try to recoup as much as they can off of it. I'm gonna break your heart and say Logan Stanley is still a Jet on Friday and maybe even signs that extension, and that's gonna be their big celebratory piece of this is what we did. We locked up our young core on a bad year. So I'm going to say under 2.5, Luke Shen and maybe Morgan Barron at most, and a Logan Stanley signing.
Over in the chat, Colin Hall goes under. Al Camino says Chevy has made 39 trades in 15 years. Bet the under. Matthew Hyman says that's a line he's been giving too. So everyone's in the same thought process here.
Yep.
Infinity comment. Our new GM says fine. Over. Ooh, I like that.
Fire
Infinity,
sale.
give me the 3 names. Chase Gurniak says hard under. Matty Wynn says mega under from me. Colin Hall says my wild card is I think there's a place where Lambert trade comes out. And he popped up on a couple of trade bait boards, which I thought was interesting too. It's an interesting one, Colin.
Yep.
Matthew Hyman says I've heard Stan and Shen likely. Plus, I think it was a Pearson was a possibility. Pomerlane says either Stan is traded this week or we're here, Boumediene and Frage requesting trades in the summer.
That's probably
Norm
coming
predicts
regardless.
a 17-year extension for Stanley. I'm going to go, I want to go over, but I'm going to go under 2. And I think it's going to be both defensemen. I think it's going to be Stanley and Shen. My dark horse to make it 3 is I can't shake the DeMello thing. I can't shake the DeMel thing, if I'm being honest with you.
That would be spicy. That would be that's a big shakeup, just in terms of a guy that's been here for so long, played top line minutes with or top pairing minutes with Morrissey. That'd be a big one. That would be huge.
I just can't shake it for some reason.
Yep.
Rain 204 says, I'll be optimistic. Shen, Stan, and one of Vladdy, Nino, Baron, Iafallo. I wonder how the Vlad and Nino stuff comes in.
Yeah, it's possible. I forgot about Nino because he's injured right now. I'm still going to keep it at under. I can maybe swap Nino out for Baron in that scenario. Vlad, I don't think has any value where somebody's going to come knocking down the door.
Infinity Comment says, Shen, Stanley Pearson, not too exciting. Someone will give us 6 or something for Pearson. He's got 7 goals. I could see that. He'll go play on someone's depth.
Like today's game, like I said, that entire Kepke, Barron, and Pearson line looked like they were auditioning to get traded out. So, hey, that could be interesting. And, hey, Sil over on Twitch says, what's up, Nick and Mikey? Hope we're having a great night. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi, Sil.
What's going on, Sil? Good to see you. We've been talking a lot about the show and places this community is going, so I appreciate his support and feedback. T-Cone Pauly says it's under. Jets doing squat. Jets Empire says, I know you don't talk much about the HL, but we need to talk about the Moose. They were up 3-1 late in the third today and lose 4-3 in OT. I don't know how Mark Morrison still has a job. I definitely have to get more ingrained with what's going on with the Moose, because watching every prospect continually go backwards is a bit of a problem here.
Yep.
Bit of a problem here. But I think that's it, eh?
Just got to do the tank.
Oh, yeah, we got to do the sim.
You ready? In 3, 2, 1. Jets drop down to 7th. Drop down 1 spot. St. Louis moves to number 1, and the New Jersey Devils jump 5 spots to number 2.
Can we get back to the range where we were winning these more often?
Right.
Can we fall a bit more?
And Jersey does not need a number 2 overall pick, okay? Jersey does not require that right now. Get the fuck out of here with this. The Jets need that spot.
We need to start falling so these simulators at the end are a lot more entertaining.
Right? I saw somebody make a comment of, if they start shipping out the Shens and the Stanleys and that, are the results going to improve and they're going to move out of that bottom spot? Gotta worry.
Choice of TK's prediction is Chevy will hold out for a first on Stan, and then he will not make a trade that makes this team worse. And Chase Gurniak says, I can't remember if it was you guys who suggested it, but I like the idea of trading Comrie for something, maybe re-signing. Definitely wasn't us. It probably would have been heard on another show. My big thing there, I don't think Comrie has trade value.
No.
I really don't. I don't think teams would be looking to shore up the backup into the playoffs with Eric Comrie. I would just be surprised if a team gave up something for him. That being said, at what point does the workload change here with Connor Hellebuyck and Eric Comrie? Is there a reason for Connor Hellebuyck to play like 8 in a row before Comrie plays 1 at the stage? Especially when we're seeing soft goals virtually every night from Connor Hellebuyck?
Right. Realistically, no. But I guarantee you they won't change the load until they're mathematically eliminated. I guarantee you they're going to keep that thought of, or not even thought, just the public wording of it, and Hellebuyck will play the majority of those games still. I think it'll take them being mathematically eliminated before they kind of ease up.
Yeah, we will see. Shoops, looking good, Nick. Great to have you guys back. Hey, we are glad to be back. Appreciate your support and jumping in. Says, go Jets, go. Fire sale. Be good to have a high draft pick again. Too many years of mid picks. That's where the optimism is to be found for me, I think. Like, as miserable as this is to watch, even just watching the game with a couple buddies today, everyone's thrilled with the idea of going to the rink next year with a new prize, something to get excited about. Even if they aren't very good, there is someone to watch, develop, and get excited about. They need that lottery ball to go. We need it. Let's see some more L's. It could make for a lot more fun into the future. And we'll be back into the future. What is it, Tuesday?
Yep.
Tuesday, Thursday this week?
You got it.
We will be back Tuesday to talk Winnipeg Jets as deadline week progresses here. We'll see if we're talking about Andrew Mangiapane being claimed tomorrow and debuting on Tuesday. We'll see if we're talking about a Logan Stanley extension where it feels like any day now, if that was going to happen, it could happen. The longer we get no news, I think the better for us, folks.
Yep.
You have a great rest of your Sunday night. Great to see everyone in the chat. We'll be back Tuesday. We'll see you all then.
Good night, everybody.